Okay, time to cover all the, well, not all the Nintendo, but all the cart-based Nintendo that I have, outside of the Game Boy stuff. Start with, it's like 16 NES carts, fortunately all loose. I do have some of the sleeves for these. I got some, they're just the generic black ones, but I got a whole bunch of them free at one of the local game stores. So to start off, Castlevania, this was one of my thrift store finds. Castlevania 3, this came from one of the play-and trades down in Colorado Springs. Contra, another one of my thrift store finds. Can't have an NES without Contra or Castlevania, actually. This came out of a play-and trade that closed down fairly recently. I bought this one as opposed to the straight Donkey Kong because, well, it has Junior in it. I wanted to make sure I was getting my bang for the buck. This is the reason why I don't have Donkey Kong on any other system. Dr. Mario, nice. Kind of in that falling block puzzle category. Couldn't get away without having that. Of course, Excite Bike, one of the must-have games for the NES. Thrift store find of Legend of Zelda. I have not actually done more than test this one yet. If it wasn't for the having to hold the reset button down habit I'll have to develop, I'd probably have played it sooner. Another thrift store find, Mappy Land. It's very similar to the old arcade game. Of course, Metroid, another one I have yet to play. Yes, we are starting to get into some of the stuff that's actually in my gaming backlog. Q*bert. I do have a copy of Q*bert for the 2600. I really should decide which one I'm going to keep out of these two. Russian Attack. I actually got this at the flea market. What NES collection is complete without Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. This is the only light gun game that I own. And I do play it every so often. The out of whack, very disappointing installment in the series, because we know this isn't really what Super Mario 2 was. This was a sprite adaptation of a completely different game. Of course, Super Mario 3, because, well, I just needed to have all the Super Mario. Another one of the must-have games, Track and Field. And to top it off on the NES side, Xevious. Yes, I have a 7800 copy. I also got a couple other copies of that. That one's about as bad for me as Miss Pac-Man is. So we'll get up next into my Super Nintendo collection. You'll notice I actually have one Famicom game in here. Go ahead and pull that out. That's Final Fight. It's only cost me a few dollars, so it was actually semi-worth it. It's only single player, which is its one major downfall. So, Donkey Kong Country, I believe I grabbed this at a thrift store. Donkey Kong Country 3, I actually kind of want to get Donkey Kong Country 2. These are both on my backlog list. Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. I have played through this except for the final defeat of Ganon, which I'm actually a bit ashamed I haven't done that last little bit, but that's a pain in the butt battle. Bought in my anime fandom days. Along with The Legend of Zelda, this is among my original collection. The Ranma 1/2 fighting game. Kind of think I'd like to track down the Famicom version, actually. It's a fairly simplistic but very fun fighter. Star Fox. I try to remember if this was I don't think this was the original collection. I think I finally found this one at a thrift store. I have not played it either. Again, backlog. Street Fighter 2 Turbo, just because you have to have a Street Fighter game if you're going to have a 16-bit era console. Super Mario All-Stars Original Collection. And let's see, next up, and this was the pack-in game, Super Mario World. I do have the manual for this one, albeit no box. Super Metroid, more gaming backlog. Actually, technically, Super Mario 3, or should I say Mario Brother? Yeah, Super Mario 3 and Mario World are in my backlog as well. Okay, Super Punch-Out. I probably want to get the original NES Punch-Out at some point, but this does me just as well. My only shmup for the system, Super R-Type. Probably not the greatest installment of R-Type to have, but you take what you can get sometimes. And the final one on the Super Nintendo side, Super Smash TV. Doesn't play as well as it could on the Super Nintendo controller, given that it's a two-stick game, but it's a nice, I can load that up really quick compared to the other copy I've got. Now on to the somewhat smaller N64 collection. As you can see, I've actually put N labels on these. I hate the label design on these. So yeah, thrift store find. It's kind of in ratty shape, but GoldenEye, one of the must-haves. Puzzle game. Bubble Bobble, Bust a Move, whatever you want to call it. Cruising USA. Yes, I know, I got at least one friend that says, but you can still find this in every arcade. Well, sometimes I don't want to go to the arcade. Jet Force Gemini. This is in my gaming backlog. Found this at a thrift store, recognized it, and it's like, hey, I've heard of that game. More backlog. Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda. The one Mario Kart I have, but since it's the first system with an analog stick, this is probably the one to have. More gaming backlog, which is the Star Wars Rogue Squadron. I doubt I'll be nearly as good as Witch, though. More gaming backlog, although I've done a couple of the levels on this. Super Mario 64. And in the box, complete, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Yes, I have the expansion pack in my system, so I can play this, but it is still in my gaming backlog. Alright, and that's the quick overview. That's 3 more consoles down and several more to go. Thanks, and I'll talk to you later.